Hello, I'm back again, this time with part 3 of a new phase of mission. I'm tired, it's been a long day. My mind's been going, my mouth has been going. um, and right now I'm uploading part 2 of the video series, and I'm not going to try to upload this one tonight. I'm making this the same day, but it's not going to get uploaded till tomorrow because my phone's already going very slow with part 2 uploading. So, um, I am inspired to go ahead and do part 3 because, um, I know that where I left off with part 2 was sort of a cliffhanger with the whole twin flame thing. So, I want to go into that part of it a little bit deeper. So, where I left off with that story was how when I was a child, I had visions and everything, and all of it is culminating now. So essentially what my twin flame journey's been about has been a process of integration of everything that I've ever felt, known, and experienced in my life. So, with everything that's transpired in my early life, was sort of fragmenting, with my childhood abuse and with my relationships and with my personality aspects all fragmenting. Upon the beginning of my awakening, I began to reintegrate everything. So that's essentially what my twin flame journey's been about. And the more I integrated all of the aspects of myself and my life, the more I realized that everything is one and that everything is whole. And as I was saying in part 2, what seemed to be little nuggets of experience along the way, in hindsight, I realized that it's all one thing, all one story that has just been continuing on. So, before my awakening, when I would make a choice, I would split off and create a different timeline because my choices were not of the highest good for myself and my other aspects in my soul group or anyone else. They were made out of ego. So once I embarked on my journey and I began to shed my ego, I began making choices based on the highest good of my soul journey and the aspects of my soul group and everyone in my life, anyone who is impacted by my choices. So the integration process is quite arduous and quite challenging, especially when you run into fragments who are stubborn and coarse and rigid and not willing to endure the process with you. So I experienced that, and I also will note that the more you integrate, the more stubborn and the more challenging those aspects become, until which time you realize that your personal integration isn't dependent on the willingness of the others. That's when you begin to manifest soulmates and aspects who've already been on that journey as well, and sort of begin to help you carry the load and make the integration process not so arduous and make it go more smoothly. So ironically, that's that began to happen around the time I lost my vision. So it was like I ran into a a big bump, a rut in the road. Um, but at the same time, there were more people from my soul family who were there to help me get through that. So that was all part of 4D. So going through that phase of my journey, each time that I made a choice that was not an ego, but rather for the good of all, and I compromised something materially, like a material comfort, in favor of choosing love, then it was like I was integrating everything, and with each choice I made, it was bottlenecking me into a more specific area in my journey. And while I was integrating all the fragments of myself, and I was integrating all the fragments of my soul group, and all of the various aspects of my journey and each timeline of my journey, I was integrating all of that into one. And so when I sensed that I had gone from 4D into 5D, and I looked back, I could see that everything was now happening simultaneously, and that from that point forward, there was not going to be any sense of being alone or carrying the load all by myself. And it was also in that moment that I received all of the new information that is beginning to seep up into my foreconsciousness now. So the journey of being a twin flame is not necessarily in regard to finding a romantic partner or finding even a soul partner that you can be in a romance with. It's about the two highest aspects on the journey back to source, who are each the mirror self of the other. So my twin flame was the polar opposite of everything about me, and he reflected everything about me that I needed to heal or develop or embrace, that I didn't like or wasn't willing to accept about myself. The divine compliment that I experienced, that I described in a video a few months ago, that experience is the mirror of everything positive about oneself. And it can only be discovered or encountered once we have gone completely through the arduous 4D. So the reason that I'm in the place that I'm in right now, where I'm manifesting and coming kind of back down to earth, so to speak, and beginning to be able to apply everything that I've learned and researched for all these years, is because of having integrated that aspect and basically gotten all the way back to oneness. And so there's no more integrating that needs to be done per se on the part of either of us. it's more like we're fully matured spiritually and now prepared to assist others along their journey, while we pretty much like sit back on our rockers and, watch the sunset together. Spiritually speaking, not necessarily physically speaking, but in a proverbial sense of it. So it's a very beautiful point in the journey, and it also comes with challenges as well, because we now get to experience the fruits of our labor, which is a wonderful thing. But we are sort of like caretakers for others who are coming up, behind us. Not that we have an utter responsibility for those people, but we do have a duty to be responsible and to give guidance in the very highest manner that we know how. So we will continue to ascend higher in consciousness, but instead of it being more like a personal journey, it's going to be more collective. And we'll be doing it sort of in tandem with the rest of the collective, be it our immediate soul group or monad or any other group, whether it be a physical group of people or a spiritual group of people. So I know I'm beginning to sound like I'm rambling, and I don't want to keep doing that. But there is so much more about this to be divulged, to be experienced, and to be understood. And I can only speak for myself in saying that I'm here to inform and explain and assist in whatever way I can. I am sitting in an entirely different light now. I have a different perspective on the spiritual journey and on my life and on everything around me. It's a beautiful new perspective, and I don't go about things quite as aggressively as I did before. It's more like sitting back on my rocking chair and, letting whoever wishes to speak step up on the porch and talk with me. So, meanwhile, I will be continuing along my journey in whatever way it's destined to unfold, which of course will be beautiful in one way or the other. I will be in awe and amazement of each and every moment of that unfoldment. And for the first time in my life, I enjoy being surprised. I've always hated surprises. From the time I was a little girl, it was more anxiety on Christmas Eve than it was enjoyment, until I just got to the point where I was almost complacent about it, because the feeling of anxiousness of not knowing what was going to happen the next day was, the complacency was more comfortable. But now I'm at a place of joy again in my heart and in my soul, and I'm anticipating and looking forward to surprises and the blessings and the gifts and the miracles that will unfold. for the rest of my journey. This means in my personal life, this means globally with all that I've spoken about this evening about space travel and about everything that will be discovered um, by the space explorers and by those of us here on Earth that will be experiencing the ripple effect from that travel. And that includes the collective journey of all of us interacting with each other here in every capacity. So, thank you all so very much for following along my journey. I wish you many blessings along yours and have a wonderful day or evening or night, whichever the case may be for you at the time you're watching this. Thank you very much.